Welcome everyone to our next installment, our 83rd episode of the Rubin Dream Job series. I'm Danny Rubin. I'm the founder of our company, Rubin, and we work with school districts around the country to provide curriculum for employability skills, helping students learn to write and speak, work on a team, work on a project. And that's where we'll focus today with our special guests, Lauren Bland and Matt Whalen from the North American Sand Soccer Championships, which is an event you may have heard of, you may not, but by the end, you'll certainly be impressed with what the two of them and their team are able to pull off every year at the Virginia Beach Oceanfront, a massive event, lots of moving parts. And we're going to dive into how they pull it off each year for over 100,000 people. And so thank you both for being here, and we will talk to you both in just a moment. Again, if you just joined, please say hello in the chat. Tell us where you're watching from. We have Courtney here from Grays Lake North in Northern Illinois. And again, continue to say hello in the chat if you have not yet. And thank you to Julie for providing sign language services for our session today. Anna here from Spanish Fork, Utah. Welcome, Anna. So before we dive into the conversation, I do want to share a resource that I want everybody to be aware of. We recently updated our website. Hi, Michelle. Thank you for being here too. Recently updated our website, and we moved all of our Dream Job webinars from, they're on YouTube, but we also made a nice archive on our company website. And I encourage you to go to that link on that I put in the chat. And we have organized all of our webinars by pathway. So you'll see when we have all of our upcoming ones like today. And we also have all of our previous ones organized by pathway. And so all we have to do is pick a pathway and it'll organize itself and show you just the people we've spoken to in that pathway. We talked to so many interesting people over the last few years. So please bookmark this page. You can also search for a job if we have it, but just going through these pathways and the various people we've talked to. So please bookmark it and come back to it, and you can watch our previous webinars from our website. We also have a worksheet for each one, and we're going to continue to update that library as we talk to new people like today. So that is our free offer to you. Take advantage of all the previous conversations that we've held. And welcome, Randy. Thank you for being here. Sports and entertainment marketing. Thanks for bringing you and your students to our session today. So let's jump into event planning with Lauren and Matt. And Lauren, I'll start with you. Tell us your bio so far and how you connect with the Sand Soccer Championships.
Thanks for having us, Danny, and thanks for providing your sign language services, Julie. And to everyone on the chat, hello, welcome. I'm really excited about this. Before I dive into my career, I'll say that what helped me know what I wanted to do when I grew up was I took a sports and entertainment management class in high school. And I decided that if I couldn't be Mia Hamm and be a professional athlete, I wanted to at least be in the sports industry somehow. So Randy, your sports and entertainment marketing class sounds awesome. And thanks for joining us and having your students participate. There are so many careers in the sports industry available to students today. So I currently serve as the executive director of the Hampton Roads Soccer Council. In that role, I kind of wear two hats. So part one is we oversee and operate a 26 field multi-use sports facility here in Virginia Beach. And we also host the North American Sand Soccer Championships. So from a soccer complex side, we see about 750,000 people per year. And on the sand soccer side, we see about 100,000 people in a weekend. So I don't take that lightly that I'm responsible for nearly 1 million people a year to provide great entertainment, access, accessibility, safety, and a chance to make great memories. To get to my career, I have my bachelor's and master's in sports management from Old Dominion University. And I spent about a decade working in various capacities. I've worked in college athletic departments, hotels for sports sales. I ran multi-court indoor basketball facilities in Charlotte. And I spent time running the Hampton Roads Sports Commission. I've been in my current role here for about 7 years. and absolutely love it. I grew up playing soccer, and again, I couldn't be Mia Hamm, unfortunately. I wasn't good enough to go pro, but I'm able to help that next generation of athletes make their dreams come true.
And we talked about that before we started, that there's so many jobs within the sports and the hobbies that we love, that it's
Mhm.
so important to learn about what you do so you can stay connected to the game even if you're not on the field. So
Mhm.
thank you for bringing that up. And Matt, go ahead with your bio, please.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Matt Whalen. I am the Director of Operations for the North American Sand Soccer Championships. I've been in this role probably for over 20 some odd years. I actually started out growing up playing soccer in Virginia Beach, having moved around kind of every year, year and a half with a dad in the Navy. Settled in Virginia Beach back in the late 80s. Yes, I'm that old. And like if we're looking at the beach, I'm kind of behind Lauren there. I'm probably like one of those players growing up there playing. So I started playing in this event the first year. I've played in this event every single year that we've had it. So this is our 31st year. So I started as a sophomore in high school playing. And when I graduated, I went to Virginia Tech in their architecture program. I came out of Virginia Tech with my bachelor's in architecture and practiced architecture, as well as I was a professional soccer player for a couple of years as well. That was kind of my transition into trying to balance a professional life and an athletic life was very difficult. So I transitioned from playing professionally into coaching. So I've coached soccer for over 30 years. I'm still heavily involved with the game. My father was the one that actually started this event back in 1993 as a fundraiser for a local soccer club. And so now it's our main funding generator for the Hampton Roads Soccer Complex that Lauren is the executive director of. And so my responsibility with the event is to actually set up that giant ocean front you see behind Lauren. So I'm responsible for every field, all the soccer rules, dealing with the city, getting all the vendors and sponsors set up, setting up the stadium, and we're responsible for about 2 miles worth of Virginia Beach oceanfront. So that's the hat that I wear during the event when I'm not playing in it, because yes, I still play in it, and I'm also a dad of a couple kids that play in it as well. Juggling a lot of balls there in the air over the course of that weekend.
Thank you both for sharing your backgrounds, and let's get into the Sand Soccer Championships. And I told you I was on the website. Let me bring that up. Looking around, I've been to the event. I understand the scale of the event as an attendee, but looking at the event schedule, and for me, if I'm helping to plan something in the community or something through my work, one event is enough. Like one event, one day for 2 hours is enough. And I'm looking at this, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is a lot. So let's start, Lauren, kind of high level down. How does your team pull off this whole event? And then we'll drill down on a particular part of it. But how does this event happen every year with so many events over 4 days?
I jokingly say it's magic, right? A good event planner will make it look and feel seamless to all of our attendees and guests that come every year. So, high level, we have a really great committee. We have longevity. We have a core staff of about 10 of us, and we funnel up to a committee of about 50 to produce the event. And so there are various people that come in and work year round. There's some that work for a few weeks, and there's some that come in just for event week. And so we staff up and down, kind of a ladder effect, depending on how close we are to the event. And so because it's our 31st year, it's our bread and butter at this point. We break our event up into 9 or 10 sections, right? So if you look behind me, you can kind of see our event. Our event is 30 blocks long. So we run 66 soccer fields plus two stadiums. So essentially what we do is when you have an event of that magnitude, you want to break it down into sizable chunks that are easy to understand, operate, and manage safely and efficiently. So we break our event into these 10 or so headquarter tents, what we say. And so each headquarter tent is going to be responsible for 6 to 8 fields, and they're their own little silo. They have their own little age group, their own activities that they're responsible for. And then we have what we consider our stadium and our vendor village. Our stadium is a circus within itself of our event, right? So we have 66 fields of amateur soccer going. Kids, families, parents, we know what's going on there. And then dead near the center of our event, we build these 2 stadiums with bleachers and LED screens and cameras and live streaming, professional athletes, language barriers, 50 or so vendors will be in our vendor village area. And so it's almost like we create a mini festival within our entire athletic footprint. And so we do that through the year. It takes a year or more to plan an event of this magnitude. Matt and I always joke that before we even get to the 2025 event, we will already have pages of notes and ideas for the 2026 event, things that we already want to change, implement. We're agile. We're constantly adjusting and tweaking our plans and our processes based on feedback from our guests and our participants. But as you can imagine, this kind of sometimes surprises folks. We can run, if needed, almost our entire events from our phones. So we use Google Drive for everything. We have shared docs. We do everything that's shared. We can pull everything up. And we have a couple of key software elements that we use. Event Connect.
What are those?
Yep. So we use Event Connect. And on the Event Connect platform, we are able to do registration, scheduling, scoring, hotels, and economic impact. So we still at our event, because at our core, we're event planners and we always want options A, B, C, D, and E and backup plans just in case. We still will have printable options, printed stat mats for scoring and things like that. But truly, we could run our entire events from our phones if we needed to. And that has been a major model shift for us over the last 5 to 7 years. Just, really COVID kind of springboarded the integration of technology into our event, and it's made it more efficient. It's made it easier just for our teams and our parents, sponsors to interface with us. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that. And I love when you get specific with, software and Matt, let's go inside setting up one of those larger stadiums for a match. What are there lots of third parties helping, like bringing in the LED screen? Are there other like contractors involved? Like how do all the pieces come together? What role do you play at the center of it, making sure that everything gets right where it needs to be?
Yeah, well, first and foremost, we fall back on about 25 years of experience just with that stadium aspect, right? We didn't start our professionals until right around 2000 or so, right? And so we've learned year after year, kind of what Lauren was alluding to. And with that comes kind of trusted agents within our community. We put really at the top of the list, we work with a lot of great community partners. We've had the same contractor that kind of helps build out our site since the beginning. And all of these things fall back on relationships. The relationships we build within the city really makes our event able to run smoothly. So there's the folks that run the bulldozers to move all the sand. There's the electricians that come from the city that pull all the power out to the stadium. There's the folks that hook up the water up against the seawall to provide that for all of our participants. There's the guys that dig 8-foot holes in the sand so we can set up big scaffolding towers like you see behind me, where we put all the signage and LED boards and stuff. And so it really does take a giant team, all from very different organizations, to make this run smoothly. But those relationships that we've developed over those 25 years to kind of run that stadium, we leverage every single year to do something new, right? To do something different, to set ourselves apart. We are the largest beach soccer tournament and festival in the world. And so you will have somebody come over from Europe that's one of the highest level players, or FIFA, the governing body for soccer, and they come to our event and they will look to the north and to the south as far as the eye can see and see nothing but beach soccer players of all ages. And they say there's nothing like this that exists in the world, right? And that warms our hearts, right? That makes it really, really special to see that, Virginia Beach community kind of rally around that and kind of put this thing together.
We talk a lot through our company's curriculum and through these webinars about communication. Now, how critical is writing skills when you are working with a large team, how critical is every word you type into that Google Drive or into that email? Are you careful with your words?
I'll take that one first. Yes, writing is so important because you have to be able to communicate a easy message to a very broad audience. And the
Mm,
information that you are going to share with the city of Virginia Beach, with the permits department, with a soccer mom who wants to attend, with a player who might be 8 years old, you need to be able to adjust your messaging to your audience. And so that's something that us as a team, we talk about all the time when whether we're sending out newsletters, social media posts, media releases, program interviews, anything we're writing, we always in our office talk about, we pause and we say, who's our audience? Who are we writing this for?
mm. Who is our
Because
audience?
who is our audience? Who are we writing this for? Because something that Matt and I can just roll off, the tip of our tongue very easily, we have to remember that there are first time users, there are first time teams, participants, team managers. There are new people to our event every year, even though it's our 31st year.
Right.
So communication externally is incredibly important. We want to be consistent and we want to be concise. It's the last thing you want to do as an event planner is confuse your audience or participants. That makes headaches.
Yes. When you have
And
this
then
many
on
people descending on one location, there can be no room for error. I want
There's
to
no
ask
room.
a follow-up question about
Mhm.
that. But as I do, students and teachers, can you recall they said how many blocks this event takes up at the Virginia Beach Oceanfront? Do you remember that number? If you remember the number, please put it in the chat. And something else, Lauren and Matt, that we do a lot in these webinars is we practice follow-up questions. So if
Mhm.
I ask you something and it piques my interest, I'm going to ask
Mhm.
a follow-up question. And let me just a quick
Mhm.
question to either of you to answer. Thank you, by the way, Anna,
Ooh,
Courtney, you got
good
that right.
job,
30
guys.
blocks, 30, great. So is it, if I was an intern on your team and you're telling me something important about the event, is it okay if I ask you a follow-up question or a clarifying question? Would you be okay with that if I was, on the
Yes.
team?
Yes.
Lauren, what would you say to that?
Yes, absolutely. And the number one thing we take on interns every semester, and I always tell them, bring a notepad, bring a pen, bring a notepad. I expect you to take notes.
Love it.
If I'm going to interface with you for 5 minutes, you may get a whole day's worth of information
Right, how
from
are
me
you
in
going to
five
remember it?
minutes. So I need you to be 100% dialed in and I want you to take notes. And there's times where um, we may not remember everything, but our intern or our part-time staff, they may be super focused on one key element of the event and they're the expert of it. And so we're going to rely on them. So we want you, notes are important, note taking is so critical, and follow up. Don't ever be afraid to ask us a question. I'd rather you ask us a question and do it correctly the first time than not ask a question because you're afraid and mess something up that becomes a big problem than
Yeah.
solving it on the front end.
Uh, Thank you. By the way, I want to encourage everybody to please go to the Q&A along the bottom of Zoom and start to put your questions. Please put your questions in the Q&A and put your name and your school, and we'll give you proper credit. We do have a question in the chat from Liberty Lacey. I'll ask it to Matt. How do you manage health and safety in such a dynamic environment?
That's a great question, a very important question to us. We put at the kind of pinnacle of kind of how we go about doing this. We work really closely with the city emergency service, with the
Mhm.
lifeguards. We have a whole staff of athletic trainers throughout the event. But really, kind of a month out from the event, we start taking a look at what the weather trends are building up to our event. Our event executes 2 weeks after Memorial Day, so we're right there at the beginning of June. And in Virginia Beach, it can get in upwards of about 90 degrees or so. We did have a year where we got over 100 degrees down on the beach. That year, I believe we utilized close to 19 ambulances at our
Yeah.
event just because of the sheer number of participants we have. But it was from heat stroke, and it wasn't heat stroke from the players. It was heat stroke from the participants, from the moms and dads, the grandparents that were down
Yeah,
there,
just sitting there
right? And
roasting
so,
in the sun.
yeah, And so because of that, the city really had to pivot into how do we manage these larger events when it comes to the safety of our participants, right? And all the people, just kind of down there on a regular beach weekend. And so we start looking a few weeks out at what that weather is going to be. And the city kind of tells us how they are going to staff it. And so we work really closely from going back to that communications. We have a really robust communications plan before the event and during the event. And so we all kind of know who the major players, the POCs from lifeguard, from life saving, from the police, from the EMS. And so we kind of know where all of them are throughout the event. If a player gets hurt, we can respond very quickly and have, somebody looking at them within, less than a minute. Every other block you see there behind Lauren, all those little white tents, there is one or two athletic trainers under each one of those tents able to deal with any of our participants. We have an upwards of 10,000 participants at this event, right? Those are just the players down there. So you can imagine the sheer scope and magnitude of checking on, toenails that are broken or injured ankles or, this, that, or the other. But it's something we're really cognizant of. And as Lauren alluded to before, the planning we do for this year started during the event last year. We actually have a list that our entire core staff shares where we are on our phones during the event and we are capturing what that lessons learned for the next year is. So, because we're going to forget about it within a couple hours, but if we sit there and capture it right there in the moment, it goes into next year's planning cycle. And a lot of that has to do with the safety of our participants.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to do again what I said students. I ask lots of follow-up questions. So you told me, and I love that inside each of those white tents, one or two athletic trainers. So my mind goes to, how do you find all these athletic trainers? That to me is a whole job within itself to have enough athletic trainers. How do you go find them all? Either one of you can answer that.
Okay. So we have a really great partnership with Centera. So we
And what is
run
Centera for those not in our market?
Yep,
They're
absolutely.
health hospital system.
Yep. So Centera is our local major hospital system in the area. We also run the Hampton Road Soccer Complex. So that is a 26 field sports facility here in Virginia Beach. We do that 51 weekends a year when we're not doing sand soccer weekend. And we partner with them year round. So we have a fully stocked athletic training room partnership. They provide nearly 2,000 hours of athletic training coverage to us. And as part of our agreement as the largest outdoor sports venue in the Mid-Atlantic, we ask for X number of trainers for sand soccer. It's a requirement to be our partner, to brand with us, to partner with us. We put in our agreements, you have to be able to staff up over 20 athletic trainers for these 3 days. It has to happen. Critical safety elements, as Matt alluded to, EMS, fire, we have inspections that go on. The health and safety is something that we take really seriously. It's the integrity of our event that we try to protect. The last thing we want is someone to leave because of an injury or something that could have been avoided.
Yeah. I want to ask this because what I'm hearing from both of you is this event has been going for many years and you build on the year before. So you have vendors, you have partners, you have systems, and you just, at this point, you make tweaks to those systems. If you were in the student's shoes and you're trying to put on an event for the very first time, what are some best practices to just make it a successful event year one so you can build in successive years? Matt, you want to take that? You gave a little laugh. What would you say to that?
Yeah.
How would you get started? How did you get started?
Well, the first one would be I would go observe other events to see how they do it, and then I would partner with that leadership to say, hey, can I come and shadow you? Can I follow you around during the event and meet with them before and after the event? We actually have had other events come to us and shadow us, which helped kind of them stand up their own event, whether they're in California or New Jersey or Florida or North Carolina, right? So we've provided that guidance to others as well. But I know I'm never the smartest person in the room. We surround ourselves with the smartest people in the room. And so we want to go find those people and to make sure they're there to kind of tell us how to go about doing it. Lauren will be the first one to tell you that we know we're not doing it completely right every single year. And we will go find people in the community to hey, take a look and put us under the microscope. Are we doing this aspect of our event correctly? Or can we get better? And if we can get better, what would you guys suggest from the seat that you sit in?
You want to add to that? By the way, real quick, Lauren, before you
Yeah.
answer, please continue. If you haven't yet, put your questions in the Q&A for our guests, and I'll ask them to our guests. But go ahead, Lauren.
So my things I would dial in on if I was creating a first time event, I would look at what's your purpose and intent? What are you creating and why? Who are you trying to meet and service? The second thing I would look at is your budget, right? Are you trying to break even? How much is it going to cost for a participant to join? How much is a team going to cost? How much are your expenses? Trophies, t-shirts, field rentals. It's very, very, very expensive to put on a major event, even a small event. I would look at partners. Who do you need to partner with to be successful, right? As Matt alluded to, do you need to contact EMS? Do you need to contact fire? Do you need to contact city application or city department? And I would say the first thing too is look at dates. Are there competing events in your area at that time? And how far of a radius are you going to look at to create something new to the market, right? So are you going to try to create something, with a 2-month buffer and 200 miles, right? How far of a buffer are you going to create for yourself so your event stands out and stands alone?
We have a question here, and I was going to get to this anyway. So thank you, Courtney Plaza, and your students. What advice do you have for students in high school who want to pursue jobs in event planning? How can they get involved, get their hands on it? What would you suggest?
I would say volunteer first, right? There are so many events in your local community, whether they are sports or non-sports, that need help. So whether you show up for 2 hours, half a day, or a whole day, raise your hand and get involved. The next thing I would do is try to take on a leadership position in some capacity that's in your sphere of influence, right? It might be I don't know, like a National Honor Society or a Key Club or a service organization. Get involved at your school first and practice planning events. Do it with your peers, do it with support from your teachers and your administrators. There are so many just resources and classes and things that you can take online to learn a little bit more about sports and the sports industry. You can look at, sports entertainment and management. There's conferences about it. And a lot of times they have free or reduced rates for students to be able to attend, to network, and to learn. But that would be my advice is go shadow, get out there and see it. Go get your hands dirty, go pick up trash. I started my career by saying yes to all of the crappy jobs first. So the job that nobody wanted to do, I will pick up trash. I will put toilet paper in the porta potties. I will get there at 4 a.m. because nobody else wants to. I want to see it. I want to be part of it. So just that's my advice. Say yes. Don't be afraid to just jump in. And you'd be surprised at how quickly you'll get recognized and appreciated by doing the jobs that people don't want to do.
Love that advice. Matt, tell us what's going on like this week with the Sand Soccer Championships. Like, what are you working out right now? What's in front of you?
How long of a list do you
there we
want?
go. Like, what are you hacking through on this particular week at the end of February with an event happening in June?
Yeah, so this little picture behind me where the stadium is, my main priority right now is securing all of those international professional teams to show up and play kind of in our capstone event within our weekend, within our sand soccer weekend. So that's the kind of the big one on my plate right now. But Lauren and I are totally kind of shifting our posture this year with what we're doing in the stadium, with how we're operating. So this is a totally new plan that we're putting together right now. So we're going through how we're going to staff that, what other support we need, how does that work from a volunteer aspect, how does that work from we got to hire somebody out aspect, and then we have to shop that plan within all the city stakeholders, as well as our event contractors as well, just to see that we can actually go accomplish that. So, it wouldn't be a regular planning cycle for us if we didn't put like one new shiny object in there for us to go figure out. And that's our thing this year is we're trying to tackle how to remanage our stadium. And so that's a pretty big effort because, you got to put a different filter on each little aspect of what goes into putting that stadium, into play and executing the event. So you got to look at it from an event safety standpoint. You got to look at it from a cleanliness standpoint. You got to look at it from how many police do we need down there? How many like of our regular security down there? Who do we need just to manage the games? Who do you need to manage the periphery and all of that? How's that going to affect the city services? What's that going to do for the signage and the communication we need around the site? What does it do for our DJ and his script? How does it affect our
Oh my
scorekeepers?
gosh.
What's the line of sight to all of these parts and pieces? And so that's not something like if we tried to do that on year one, we would have fallen flat on our face. We can do that in year 31 because we have all this knowledge in our back pocket. So we feel we're in a good spot right now that we can bite off something like that year to year.
To think in so many different directions off just one idea, then it creates a whole flurry of considerations. And by the way, in that answer, you said the word shiny object, and I'd be remiss if you both didn't share some of the swag and merch from your event. So can you please show us some of your cool items? So that's like what is that exactly? A
Our
medal?
medal, that's our participant medal. If you
All
won the
right.
tournament last year, you would
We
have
got a
got one of
soccer
that.
ball.
And, yep.
What else we got?
Got
What am I looking at
trophies.
there?
Sorry, it's kind of crazy with our background.
Yeah,
These
it's
are
okay.
our trophies.
Trophy.
These are like plaques that we give out to sponsors and vendors.
Super nice.
We do cups, all sorts of stuff. We also do one of the things that Matt didn't mention that he's working on right now is our merch. Is so we sell about $100,000 worth of merchandise at our event every year.
Wow.
And so Matt works with our local artists, and in about a week or so, we will see the sample
Tomorrow,
designs.
actually, tomorrow. We'll get designs tomorrow,
Okay.
Lauren.
Yeah, thank you. I was gonna say that, but I was like, oh, maybe it's too late.
Make him stress.
Give him a week. So that's a big part of it too, right? So yes, we have the soccer, but then you have the festival component, right? So we want people buying t-shirts, hats, we want your swag. And why is that important? Yes, for memories, yes, for money, but because you are brand ambassadors.
Yeah, all over the world.
You want to sell merch at your event so people see your brand and take it with you wherever they go back to their communities.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. We're going to start sort of rounding for home here, and we'll get your final thoughts in a moment. And I do just want to remind the group one more time, teachers, please take advantage of our webinar archive on our new and improved company website. You'll find all of our previous conversations there organized by pathway. So the full conversations with worksheets and sign language, so you can jump into any previous discussion. And we've talked to so many interesting professionals across different fields. This is one more high quality conversation, putting on such a cool event. I would say, Lauren, I'll give you the final word. Why should students pursue project management, event planning? Why is that a meaningful career, and what has it meant to you?
One, because what it means to me is my favorite part of my job is I get to help children and families make some of the best memories of their lives, right? When you look back when you were a kid, you're going to remember the trips you went on, the experiences you've had, and the places you visit. You're not going to remember necessarily the day to day, but you're going to remember those key elements, those key events, those marquee things that stood out for you. And Matt and I and our whole team, we are super fortunate. That's ultimately the hat we put on. That's the message we remind our staff is when we're out there and we're sweating in 100-degree weather and we're exhausted after working 80 hours a week, we have smiles on our face and we are providing a great vibe for everybody down there because we want them to make the best memories they can with their friends, their families, their teammates. And in I'll say in an academic sense, why should you have a job in event planning? Guys, you can't outsource it. No computer is going to be created. You can't create a software to run an event. It's job security. You have to have people and bodies to fulfill the positions. Tomorrow, in 10 years, in 50 years, there will always be event planners. There will always be the people that are leading the event or behind the scenes, making sure that there's infrastructure, AV, audio equipment, what have you, at the event. So you'll always have job security, and then it'll lean on your heart that you get to help people make some amazing memories.
Wonderful answer. I love the job security angle. I wasn't even thinking in that way, but that's definitely true. You need human beings on the ground running these types of events. So fantastic. Lauren, Matt, thank you both so much for your time. And you got 100 million tasks swimming in your brain that I pulled you away for 30 minutes, but you're allowed to return to the busy, busy days of event planning. Thank you, Julie, for your time today. Thank you all for being here. I hope you'll join us on Tuesday, March 11th. We'll be talking to a gentleman named Sean Mulligan who runs a NASA rocket launch facility. Real deal. And they also launch private rockets up into space for companies. It's fascinating work, very different from our conversation today, but another job that is out there that we don't often hear about or know about. And he'll tell us all about launching rockets in a couple of weeks. So thank you again for all of you for being here. And we will see you in March. Thank you, Randy. Thank you, everybody, for your time. We'll see you next month.